Sports Wrap, Jordan Ringer. Hey, it's been, well, what, about 7, 8 days?
It has
9 days?
of chaos with that involved.
We apologize for our tardiness. Our audience even recognized that, hey, aren't you guys supposed to be here like on Wednesday or Thursday? It's Monday, and I'm like, you're right.
You've got to be flexible.
Life is a little busy.
It is.
So we deal with what we can. Even in the summertime, it can get to be too busy. So.
I got a message from on my phone today from you at 5:20, and I thought,
oh, yeah, that sounds about right.
He should get a life.
Well, at 5:20, I was sitting at the radio station getting ready to start my stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, I got to know what time we're going to go today. So I figured I better text you out something.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually more like this. Right? I don't do the two-thumb thing. But anyway, yeah. So,
hey, but there was a lot of sports in that time. I mean,
holy smokes! I kind of took the highlights, I think.
Yeah, I did too, but my thumbs are sore from channel clipping and flipping, and I tell you, I watched the golf tournament, and it was a great golf tournament, and there was guys I really wasn't that familiar with, and I thought, and I watched the leader, and he was clinging, he was trying to break the lead, and he drops about a 25-foot putt, and I just happened to channel flip on, and I says, well, that's a long ways, just let's see if he can drop it. Well, he could.
Well, he could. Johnny Rahm.
Johnny Rahm, and he won.
And he won, yeah, the first Spaniard ever, and it was the tournament that nobody wanted to win, really.
Apparently, yeah.
If you watched it all, you already know kind of the story. But when they were the leaders got done with about 7 or 8, there were like 13 guys within 3 shots of the lead.
3 shots, yes.
And then all of a sudden, with about 5 holes to play, there was only like 3 guys that really had a chance. It was over. Everybody fell off the face of the earth. You kind of watched
them, and they really did. DeChambeau and Koepke and all the rest of them, they just they were in it, and they just, all of a sudden, they were gone.
You always, you always wait for the U.S. Open to step up and bite. They want you to shoot even par to win.
Yeah.
Some years it goes worse, some years they go better. They were talked about that if you watched the show yesterday. This one I thought was there to be had, but the best round was a 67 over any of the 4 days. 67 was the best, so it was a tough course.
A lot of 70s.
DeChambeau, he makes a little of his own trouble because he gets up there and says, I'm going to hit it as far as I can, and whatever happens, happens. Well, when you take an 8, a quadruple on the par 4.
Oh, he put it so far in the forest, he's lucky they found it.
Well,
and then, a couple times.
And then you can't chop it out of there.
You can't.
That's the problem. So, yeah, he was in the lead with 10. After he got through 10, he was -5. He was there. It looked like everything was going to go good.
And it also looked like a very challenging course. I mean, they were hitting that ball over ravines that were very, very deep, and it's just and I thought somebody saw a golf course on this terrain. And it's
Well, they play there every February / March, somewhere in there. Obviously, they toughened it up since then. They let the roughs go a little bit, let them get a little bit thicker. But the holes are what they are, and so I was just. I was taken aback that somebody didn't, like you said, grab hold of that one. And Rahm did. I mean, he shot a 67, so he went 4 under to take care of business. But
yeah, actually, he won by forfeit. I mean, everybody else just kind of petered out, and he was able to. I mean, and it was the putt that turned around for it, and I just ooh.
Yeah, and Louis Oosthuizen gets to 17, and he drops the one and got to take a penalty stroke, and that kind of cost him. So
anyway, it was fun to watch.
It was fun to watch, and of course, this week is Smoky Bear Invitational Week. This Saturday and Sunday here in International Falls, and so a lot of good golfers, a lot of great golfers will be in town, and I'll do a little shameless plug for K104 and RJBroadcasting.com. We're going to do the last 9 holes live again, so we'll see what transpires there. Hopefully we've got an exciting race.
Oh, I think so. We always have a good bunch of I Falls characters show up for that one.
Yeah, former R Fallsers who come from elsewhere, and they got the connections, and so we'll see what happens. It's going to be an exciting week, and that all gets started with the Larry Ross on Friday. Not sure how many players they got for that, but I heard they've got about 70 guys, 75 guys they're
Whoa.
hoping for the Smoky Bear, which in the past they've had upwards of 120, but that's what they're kind of hoping for, and we'll see what happens Saturday morning when it all gets started. So 45 holes for the champions, and we'll see if Bob Mason can win his 27th season. No, only about his 8th, I think, 7th. I haven't done my homework yet, but it'll be a fun weekend. And if you're around this weekend, you should come out and have a drink and have a beverage and see the guys and see what happens. So
There you got it.
what do you want to talk about next?
There was an issue today, and I want to go right to the Supreme Court as long as we're there.
We discussed that before we went on the air a little bit before you arrived.
Yeah, no, this is big. And somebody was talking about today, and he says this began in 1992, as you recall. The United States put together the Dream Team, and there were more millionaires on this basketball team than you could shake a wet towel at, and thus ended amateurism for the Olympics. That was no longer there, and I think by having a 9-0 vote, they're taking a look and they're saying, you have taken away from these kids when everybody else has redefined what amateurism is, and this is no longer going to work. And it's been going on for an awful long time, and I'm not sure how much more complicated this is going to be, coupled with the portals that are out there and so many people transferring on a daily basis. Somebody was making a profit, and the people they were making a profit of just
Weren't getting a piece of the pie. That's what we were discussing about the pie.
Yeah.
Still there.
Yeah.
The NCAA and their schools are going to have to do with a few $1 million less, and maybe instead of signing your head football coach for $9 million, maybe he's going to have to settle for $6 or maybe $5.
Well, I tell you, I'm amazed that they went in there with such weak arguments. I mean, this is the Supreme Court, and when you get smacked around and you're NCAA, it's not that you're not a powerful institution. You are one of the most.
Yeah.
So you're not used to that, and they said no. But when you see this, it's not those judges, situation to back the NCAA or anybody else. They just had to take a look at what justice kind of meant to them, and they went with the kids on this one.
Yeah, and 9-0 says it pretty hard.
I think it does. And you watch, there'll be something else. What else can the kids get paid for or anything like that? Because I do know that there are a lot of kids that are going to college that really do not come from very strong financial backgrounds, and no matter if they're there on scholarship or not, it's tough. And when a kid is playing in a bowl game and his parents can't, or his mother can't, or his dad can't afford to get to that ball game, that's not the way it should be.
I agree. Yeah, there's ways of getting this done and doing it right.
Yes.
Righter. So I say good for them. It's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out, though.
Well, and I'll tell you, by them putting this on the table above board, it very well could at least help lend itself to ending some of the corruption that's going on in NCAA sports the way it is, especially basketball.
Yeah, I hope there's that. That some of this stuff will end. But there's still a part of me inside of me that's old school that says you already get a scholarship, George. Okay, you're coming to Duke. You're getting a $50,000 a year education. We're putting all that into you. How much more do you need? How much more do you deserve?
I think that's what this whole thing is about, where you can help them educationally. For instance, make sure that they're able to take whatever internships and programs and traveling I mean, when I was trained in special education, I had internships all over southern Minnesota. You would, go and visit these things, and they're expensive to be able to do this. Computers, technology, paying extra for classes, and how many other extras does a 75% scholarship cover?
Yeah.
And so, and there's going to be some people that, they make a lot of money. They're there for 1 or 2 years, and they're really fantastic athletes, and they're going to be making millions of dollars shortly. But there's other ones down there that they're not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if they can help those people out, and also, I mean, it's kind of like one of the things, you have a whole bunch of talented basketball players. They happen to be black, and all of a sudden they wind up at Florida State or Duke or Harvard or some of the predominantly white schools, and I've had to say, geez, they're the only black people on campus are the athletes, and so I'd like to see that inequities stretch out a little bit and get these campuses a little bit more financially integrated.
Does it? I don't want to. Will this make kids want to stay in school longer rather than going to the NBA or the NFL?
Yeah, and I hope so, because there's still so few of them. I mean, how many Kevin Durants are there out there? I watched one the other night, and I only see one.
Yeah.
And it's and there's, I know there's some really talented kids out there, and I hope that they all make it. But boy, there's an awful lot of talented people in that NBA.
I mean, I'd like to see the kids stick around and
Yes.
be teams a little bit longer. That's the thing that I'd like.
And that's what Ben Johnson apparently with the Gophers now is trying to stress. Here, we're starting this, and I think Lindsay Whalen is too. She just got a bunch of crops for next year, and so the next couple of years are going to tell the tale for Gopher basketball program anyway.
We'll see what happens.
See what happens.
You want to stay with colleges? Did you watch any NCAA baseball? Any of the College World Series over the weekend?
I tell you, I do know that Vanderbilt is still
pretty good.
Is still a pretty good team, and I was kind of surprised, like Mississippi State and some of the rest of these you don't necessarily look upon as baseball powers. I didn't know about Vanderbilt because they did her last year.
Yeah, they're the defending champs, and Mississippi State, their pitching staff only had 21 strikeouts last night of Texas. That's not too bad. That's a College World Series record.
You only get 27.
Yeah, you only need 27 outs, so they got 21 of them. And I watched the last couple at bats, and for all intents and purposes, I thought it could have ended up 22 or 23. So, good stuff. I watched a little bit of Arizona and Stanford this afternoon, about an inning or an inning and a half maybe, and I was dreaming that I was sitting in the stands rather than watching it on TV. Of course, thus the hat today. This is the one from 2014. I think this is the 14 version. Anyway, I wish I could be there, but that's the way it is. And so NC State, unranked coming into the tournament, they took down Arkansas. They went over Stanford. Virginia shut out Tennessee, and so there's a long way to go yet in this. Lots of games yet to be played, and that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah, no, it really is fun to watch. There's so many talented teams where they get all these people, and each team has some, top shelf people.
Yeah, the guys that have been drafted, going to be drafted, all those other things. So,
in some instances, Vanderbilt, most of those guys have been drafted, so they're not going to mess with that.
Can I stay on the baseball thing?
Absolutely.
Well, this afternoon I had a chance to talk to one of our favoriteest topics on this show.
Oh, yes?
Oh, yeah. I did an interview with Wyatt Ulrich for the radio station, so we actually Zoomed and recorded the interview that way, and so that'll be on the air tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. And if those of you that are out of town or are watching this and you didn't miss it on the radio, it'll be on the station's website. Just go to rjbroadcasting.com. More shameless plugging. Anyway, we had a good time. We talked we probably talked for almost 20 minutes, but we probably had about 10 plus minutes on the interview. And I asked him how it was going, and he just said He said, it's unbelievable. I'm playing professional baseball. They're paying me to play baseball. That guy, it's kind of the way that it has to be said. He said, I'm seeing former major leaguers that I'm batting against. The kid that was playing center field for them just got called up, just got picked up by the Phillies. So he said, I think I'm going to be moving from left field to center
Back
field.
to center.
He's only batting 368, only. 368 in 20 games. The Canaries are 15 and 15. And, he just said, look, I don't know how long this is going to go. I'd love to be drafted, but I'm just going to keep enjoying it and whatever else. And I did ask him, I said, who's enjoying this the most? You, me, the fan, or your parents? I said, who's enjoying it the most? He says, I'm having a lot of fun, but he said, I think my mom and dad are enjoying it the most.
Just bet they are.
So, anyway.
Hey, good for him. He's worked so hard at this, and he's put his time in, and he's never lost his love for the game.
Yeah,
I hate to be cheesy about it, but you can't. Some of these guys are 26, 27. They've been playing in the minors. They've been doing this for years, and he's got that swat to the opposite field batting style.
He hit a double the right center the other night, and I'm like, are you sure you said that right? You sure it wasn't left center? I was talking to my phone while I'm listening to it, and he loves to pull the ball, but he said, I asked him about getting drafted. He said it would be great, but he said, I'm 24. I'm kind of old to be drafted. He said, they're not going to take a chance on a 24-year-old. He said, my best bet is to, have a good year and become a free agent and hope somebody says, let's take a chance on this kid.
Well, I'm
old guy.
I watch Moneyball. I mean, I see how that works, and somebody's going to take a look at it. And this, I asked somebody how, not to change the subject, how Vegas put together this hockey team. He says, that's easy. They give them carte blanche on the draft.
On the expansion
draft. And so when you take a look at some of these ball clubs, they really do clean house of expensive contracts and kind of start all over from scratch. Yeah. And he's a talented kid. He is.
Yeah, whether he's got major league abilities, I will never doubt the kid. He went and played with St. John's, and everybody went, he's going to go to St. John's. And by the way, he talks glowingly about St. John's, everybody. No surprise there.
It's a fantastic education.
They brainwash you there.
Fantastic education.
He went out and played in the Northwoods League, and everybody's like, it's the Northwoods League. He'll never whatever. And then he's going to go out to Richmond, and it's Division I. He'll never what. Oh, now he's here playing professional baseball, batting 368 through 20 games, and even he admitted the first week was tough. He said, I was trying to get my bearings together, and now he's batting 368. So think about what he's been doing over the last couple of weeks. The batting average is over 400, I would easily suspect. And
well, no, but I'm listening to the game, first or second game he's playing, and he drives deep to center, and they caught the ball, and I thought, he's driving deep to center. This is his first game. It's sooner or later he's going to be able to, plant those things.
He said he faced a pitcher the other night, and he said you could tell he was throwing the ball exactly where he wanted to. And it wasn't just fastballs that he was placing. It was all his pitches. Ooh. And he said that's the big difference between Division I. He said they got multiple pitches. Obviously, they can throw a little bit harder, but the location, they can put the ball. He said, even at Richmond, he said I could sit fastball because fastball, curveball, eventually they were going to come with a fastball and you were going to hit it. But he said here you got to be a little bit wiser and whatever else, and obviously
these pitchers work on these pitches. And that's just that they spend a lot of time working on them, and they get real good at them. What's the hardest thing to do but hit a major league pitcher? I don't know.
Hit a round ball with a round bat, pretty doggone tough.
Yeah.
So
anyway. The Twins are on a 4-game win streak.
Twins are on a 4-game win streak. Byron Buxton comes back. Luis Arraez comes back. It's amazing when you get your starters back in the lineup, things start to happen.
It is, but I do miss my friend the Turtle. He gave me a lot of excitement when there wasn't much to have, and so he's over at St. Paul chucking and jiving now. But
see, here's the thing, and I discussed this with somebody else this morning. Yes,
Who do you want? You want Buxton or him?
Yeah, and that's what I said. You want Buxton or Astudillo? And I'm like, there's no comparison right now. Astudillo, the thing with him is, okay, he could be up with the big club, and he could be playing twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. Let him go down to St. Paul and let him bat 7 days a week. Let him get his cuts. Let him get his eye, because you know what's going to happen, folks. These are the Minnesota Twins. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Oh, he's not done with this stuff.
And he's coming back. So, the biggest thing is, you got Nick Gordon, you got all these other kids that they're trying to take a peek at. Larnock's been playing pretty well. Kirilov's been playing pretty well. So you got all these kids that have come up and done pretty well for themselves. And then how do you tell Luis Arraez, well, we brought you back, okay. Arraez comes back, where's Donaldson? Josh Donaldson needs to be in the lineup. Nelson Cruz needs to be in the lineup.
Yeah.
So here's my question, and we've speculated this on before. I'll speculate once again. Is Miguel Sano going to go before the trade deadline?
Well, I don't know.
It's only a month away.
But I have down here is Nelson Cruz hurt, and so
stiff neck. I attribute that to sleeping in a hotel bed. I'm gonna go with that. He is 41 years old, right?
He is.
So stiff necks happen a little bit more regularly, maybe.
On the other hand, it looks like we got a starting pitcher back.
But on the other, you like what Kenta did?
I think Kenta had a real good outing yesterday, 5.5, and with the exception of the tail end, he scattered a couple of things, and
he was getting to his pitch number, I think, where they wanted to limit him to, and yes, he gave up the 2 solo home runs.
Well, outside the first inning, first 2 innings, he threw almost 50 pitches, and and then after that, he settled in.
I thought he looked good. It's good to have him back.
That is still an incredible slider he's got.
He said he felt like it was back.
Yeah, well,
the old slider was back, and if he's going to be the pitcher he was last year, he needs his old slider back.
You got to have that slider.
Who doesn't need a slider like that? So
anyway, hey, in the 5th inning, he only used 7 pitches. In the first 2 innings, 50. It's just, it was insane. But I want to talk about one other guy, Shohei Ohtani.
Let's talk about Ohtani.
Let's talk about. He's got 23 home runs now.
Is that many?
He's got 23 home runs, and he's a starting pitcher. He is going to hit in the home run derby for the All-Star game, which I've not seen that before.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was 23 home runs. So.
Yeah.
That's not a bad number.
Well,
considering it's only June 21st today.
When you have an athletic talent like that, and you what do you want to just use them, every 3 days or 4 days, or can he contribute every day? And I've had the gurus say they should pull him out of the bullpen right now and turn him into whatever position they want to turn him into, and concentrate on his hitting.
Doesn't seem to be bothering him too badly right now.
No, and that's what I think. Because I've seen some of his pitches, and they'd be hard to hit. He's really just a very fine athlete, and I will be watching Home Run Derby this year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. That I have to admit, I will say this: I've been waiting for him to falter, to fall on his face, whatever, because you would suspect the guy can't keep doing what he's doing, but
he hasn't.
He continues to do it.
He continues to do it. And the other thing is, New York. What can you say? 3 triple plays.
That tells me you're getting yourself into a lot of trouble.
Well, everybody's running the base, and it's also like, but they haven't been hitting. They went into a slump there for a while, and they weren't hitting nothing. But so all of a sudden they turn a triple play. Everybody gets excited. 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, they turn another one, and now a third. There's only been one other team ever that's turned 3 triple plays in a year, and I'm sure it wasn't the Yankees. I just know it's.
No, it was not the Yankees. I was going to look it up, but I figured it's not that big a deal because there's over half a season left. They'll probably break the record, and then they'll tell us, right?
Well, yeah.
But you got the triple play they had the other night was 1, 6, 2, 5, 6, I think.
6, yeah.
So one of the rare. They said they've never had a triple play in the 400 and I think they said 400 or 300 and plus triple plays that have ever been turned in a major league game, there's never been a 1-6-5, I think was the numbers. So anyway.
Yeah,
somebody's got a lot of time to be looking at
it around the horn, but that's what they were doing. It was pretty amazing. It was kind of like a pea underneath a walnut shell. It was pretty amazing. Anyway,
what's next?
I just want to go back to, we were talking about the Gophers. I want to concentrate just for a second on the women's basketball. They are picking up Amaya Battle from Hopkins, and that's Jameson's little sister. And I think she's a real find. And Jameson's coming. He's the one that's coming back from George Washington,
correct,
to his loyal Hopkins coach.
My question is this: let's say now that Lindsay's got all this Minnesota talent.
That's what they're concentrating on.
And let's say that the Gophers fall flat on their face.
Yeah.
Now what?
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I think
either.
There's a lot of Minnesota talents, and I tell you, Mallory Heyer of Chaska, Marie Braun from Wayzata, Nina Holloway from Eden Prairie. I think, and what really has to be is Lindsay Whalen has to concentrate on this homegrown talent and go with it. I have to agree. It's the first time that I can remember, the last 10 years or so. Prior to that, we didn't have a lot of homegrown basketball talent, and now they seem to. And so it's anyway. I was really kind of surprised. I mean, they got the Battle. They got a bunch of kids here now.
I think this is true of any team, and this might be like but do you get everybody pulling in the same direction? Okay, you start bringing all these stars in from Georgia, Texas, New York, wherever, okay, California. And all of a sudden you've got all these number one players, and there's only one basketball, or there's only one football, or whatever. And so do these homegrown Minnesota girls check their egos at the door and play for the old alma mater and play for Goldie and do the things they're supposed to do? So that's the thing that I wonder about.
Well, I'm going to tell you, one of the things that I think might counter that is the biggest star in the court is Lindsay Whalen. She's been there. She's done all the rest of that stuff. She was, how many times, she was the most exciting women basketball player to ever hit the Gopher court, at least at the time. And you sat down there and just watched her work. And she is, she's passionate. Maybe, you got to be a little bit obsessive to coach at that level anyway. But I think maybe the fact that she keeps her ego intact, she'll teach these young women how to keep theirs.
I think it's true of any team, but is it easier because you have all those Minnesota nice kids?
Well, I think so, and besides, these women, just like the men, a good many of them will not be playing in the WNBA, but Lindsay Whalen knows what they need to do should they want to do it, and she is a draw.
I agree.
Yeah.
You want to stay with basketball? You want to go to the NBA?
We can go to the NBA.
Can I say that I'm shocked?
Yeah.
Obviously, Kyrie Irving was hurt, but you got Kevin Durant, you got James Harden, and Brooklyn, who looked like the team that probably could win it all, gone. You got Philadelphia, who outdistanced them during the regular season, gone. You got the Utah Jazz, who were number one in the West, gone. And the thing about it is, Milwaukee wins on the road at Brooklyn in Game 7. Atlanta wins on the road at Philly in Game 7. I have to say it this way. I think the NBA has got to be a little bit ticked off because they didn't get Durant and they didn't get their super team in there
in the finals.
LeBron's been gone.
The Game 7 of the Milwaukee Brooklyn game was incredible.
I didn't watch a second of it, but I heard it was pretty good.
It was I'm groggy and I'm watching, I'm looking, and they just go down and just drills it again. And I mean, somebody will say, who's the finest basketball player in the NBA? And somebody's going to say Kevin Durant. And I'll tell you, they got to get a vote. He is just an incredible basketball player on both
Well, how
ends
do you
of the court.
defend some guy who's 7 feet tall that can dribble and shoot like that? I mean, who can defend him?
Oh, you can't. And you know, and so he's getting, but even Kevin Durant has to have and
Supporting cast?
Yeah, and he had two of them in there, and both of them were not 100%. And he tried to carry the team, and it's tough to do. On the other hand, I watched Atlanta, and Trae Young, who was 2 for 17 going into the fourth quarter, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, and then all of a sudden he drills a 35-footer, stopping Philadelphia right there in its tracks, and got a 3. And from that point, Philadelphia, although I think they did catch up, might even pass once again, they were struggling to keep up. And then Trae Young, you know what he did at the end of the game? He took off his jersey and ran it up and gave it to his father on Father's Day. And this well, Dad couldn't be much prouder. But if this is what's coming in the future, incredible talent.
See, to me, this is where the NBA usually doesn't. This is not what happens in the NBA.
No.
You don't get a 3 and a 5 in the East and a 2 and a 4 in the West coming out. You don't get you know you got 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and it's kind of like what do we play the regular season for? Well, this time around, I think things are good. LA is still in the mix with the Clippers. I know it's not LA's number 1 pick. The Lakers are theirs. Whatever, but there's different teams in there, and this will probably get, I hope, the average fan a little bit more excited about saying, because we've been saying for years and years, the Timberwolves have no chance to win the title. The so-and-so, Milwaukee, doesn't have a chance to win the title because they're not part of the Big Three. They're not a big market team. Well, I guess Atlanta is a pretty big town. I would not consider Atlanta a big market team. Atlanta has been struggling for years and years, ever since a guy named Dominique, I think, was there the last time Atlanta, where they really made a big splash. I know they were the number 1 seed a few years ago. But having said that, Atlanta, Milwaukee, Phoenix in the mix may not be great for TV ratings, but I think it gives me hope for that small market team that they got a chance.
Well, and other people pick up the case. Leonard was out for the Clippers. Chris Paul was out for the Suns. And so what did they do? Well, Devin Booker's, he picked it up, 40 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 at the arc. So again, I don't know how you stop a 3-pointer from out there, but there's the ones that put it over the top, and you sit around and you just think, I don't think you can do that without Chris Paul, and they do.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Mid-range jumpers. He was
non-existent, or
no, that's what he did. He sat around in a corner and got on the elbow, and he wasn't 5 feet away from the arc. They were giving him the shot, and he was drilling them.
Terrible.
Yeah. I love those mid-range jumpers.
Yeah, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be interesting. New blood, new guys to learn. We'll see what happens. So, shall we move to the NHL?
Let's move to the NHL.
Well, I think the last time we were here, we had Montreal, who had come through, won 7 in a row. Vegas had just finished off Colorado, and Vegas ended up beating Montreal the first game, and everybody's like, it's over. Vegas has got this thing won. And Montreal comes back and wins a couple, and Vegas wins on the road. And so now they're tied at 2. The Islanders and the Lightning tied at 2. The NHL's got to be going, thank you. We got a New York team in. We've got a Canadian team in. And
Florida team in.
And we've got 2-2 in both series.
Yeah.
NBC and the NHL got to be darn happy.
Oh, no, and I'll tell you, I've been watching the Vegas Montreal more than the other, but they've been just tremendous games. And and it comes down to goaltending, and it's going to be 1-0, 2-1, and heading for overtime. And this is just the way it works. And
One thing that I've learned through this, now that I'm on the radio and I got to say some of these guys' names, holy smokers, Vasilevsky, and they're making me earn my keep with those names. So
Yeah.
anyway, keep practicing, you get better. And
You will.
So okay, so here it is. It's Monday night. We got both series at 2-2. Who are you taking in the Vegas-Montreal series? Vegas has got the home advantage with 2 of the 3.
Well, and
If
I
it
think
goes,
that seems to be really important. I mean, think about going to Montreal and winning 2 games against the Habs in Montreal. Tough thing to do, ask Toronto. And, but they're now in that home thing. That being said, it might give them some comfort when they lace up their skates, but I'm not sure how much good it's going to do out there. Montreal really flies, and they got good goaltending too, you know.
Carey Price is very, very good.
And I like watching this young Caulfield.
Out of Wisconsin?
Rookie out of Wisconsin, hockey player of the year. They got a nice young team, and I'm sure underneath all those burly faces.
I'm going Vegas. I'll go Vegas. Tampa Bay, New York Islanders. I'm going Tampa Bay, not because I picked Tampa Bay from way back. So that's who I think. Vegas. Next time we're here, we'll be talking about Vegas and Tampa Bay playing for the Stanley Cup.
Oh, I think it might be Vegas, but I'm not sure it's going to be Tampa Bay.
Okay, there we go.
We'll go from there.
There
We
you
have
go.
it already.
Well, as long as we pick that, what about the NBA? So now you got Atlanta, Milwaukee. Who are you picking? How many games?
I'm going to pick Atlanta, and I think it's going to go 7.
Okay, I'll take Milwaukee, and I'm going to go 6. And then we got the LA Clippers and Phoenix. Phoenix already up 1-0.
Yeah, no, Phoenix is going to win that series.
Anyway, they don't get Kawhi back.
If they don't get Leonard back, they're done.
Okay, we agree then.
Yeah,
Have you been watching any of the Olympic trials?
I have. Just, I tell you what I do have is I have a list of Minnesotans that have qualified for the Olympics. And there's,
Oh, that's good homework right there, George. Let me just say it.
This is Kyra Condi from Shoreview, sport climbing. I didn't know that was an Olympic thing. Laura Dahlman-Weiss from Shoreview. She was sailing. Joe Klecker from Minnetonka, track and field. Peyton Otterdahl. He's from Rosemont. He's the shot putter. You see this guy? This guy is amazing. And Rhiannon Smith, Lakeville swimming. Gable Stevenson, I don't know what he does.
No.
But he's going to go after a
Never
gold
heard of
wrestling.
him.
And Patrick Sunderman, rifle shooting. He's from Farmington. Jordan Thompson from Edina, and women's volleyball. And Elise Willoughby from St. Cloud, BMX racing.
There you go.
I think that's bicycle.
It is bicycle. Yes, it is.
I didn't know that was an Olympic thing.
Here's what I love.
Yeah.
Okay. NBC Sports has got like the corner on the market this time of the year, right?
Oh yes, they do.
Because they not only had the U.S. Open, but then they had the swimming trials and the track and field trials going on essentially all at the same time, which for a sports fan is great because you never have to turn the channel. Okay, I didn't do much surfing this weekend. I just put it on NBC and said, okay, it's good enough. But Friday night, they came on with the Olympic trials. A couple of minutes late because the golf they didn't want to finish up. I get it. And they come on, and guess what they're showing? Shot put. The fat guys are out there, and they're showing the fat guys. The first thing on is the fat guys. Hey, come on, I'm ready to go. And then what happens? World record.
Yes.
76 feet, 5 and whatever inches, whatever it is, by Ryan Krauser. And did you see the reaction? He's a spinner, they all are now with the shot put. That shot put came out of his hand, and as it looked like it was just leaving his hands, he's already doing this. He knew. And then how they left his hand, and he knew he nailed it. And he said it could have been better. He said, I knew it was good, but it wasn't perfect. And I'm like, you said a world record.
Well, no, the 3A shot put champion was almost 64 feet. And, and I'm sure that they're spinning, they all are, when they're coming out of that spin. At that weight and that kind of strength,
it's amazing to see what those guys do. Anyway, to me, that was a big deal because, where are the money sports at? The sprints, which they've been showing over the weekend. They made that on purpose.
Yeah.
But for them to start out and they had to. I mean, you get a world record, you got to you got to show the final few throws. Thank you, NBC, for taking the high road and doing the right thing and not worrying about what was going on the track. It was pretty cool to get to watch the big guys
watch
get
the
up there
shot
and do
putters go on, and just to see, number one, how big they are and how fast they move, and you think, and some of them could play football, and there's no doubt about it. They're just, but they really can put that ball, and it is 16 pounds. It is no small 12-pounder like we used to throw in high school.
Yeah.
Speaking of high school,
Yeah.
I want to talk about the McCauley sisters.
Okay.
Isabella, she was the one that forego the Minnesota State golf tournament and went down and played in the U.S. Open. But the McCauley family was not to be denied. And her little sister, who's a freshman, her name is Reese McCauley, wound up being the 3A champion from Simley. And they got a picture here, as you can see. One's a junior, one's a freshman. I love these sisters.
I assume that the older one was her caddy for the day.
I don't know, but I do know that Dad had to buy him dinner that night. It's just all of a sudden, all those golf lessons finally paid off. But both of these girls, I believe, I do know that Isabella is going to the U, and I think her little sister will be following her.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Keep those kids at home, right?
Yeah, keep those kids at home. Sylvia Foley's and Nafisa Collier. They're going to go to the Olympics, and they committed to the basketball team. So is Kevin Durant.
Some of these NBA guys committed, and I have to admit and here's why I'm surprised. They played late with the pandemic, then they came in, they crammed all these games in, and you would think, one of the things they've been complaining about is there's not enough time in the off season. Well, they just gave up their off season to go try to win the gold medal, which I think is great, but I don't want to hear anybody complaining at the 75th game next year that, Kevin Durant looks so tired because he played in the Olympics. Come on, let it be. Anyway, that's all I ask.
Okay.
Go win a gold medal for the U.S., but I don't want to hear any complaints during the NBA season that he needs a third night in a row off because he's tired because he played in the Olympics. Otherwise, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I am too.
Yeah.
Those are our best basketball players.
That's what we need. That's what we got to do, right?
That's what we got to do.
Yeah, so the Olympic track and field trials continue all week this week, so that'll be fun to watch the hundreds, the 110 hurdles. You should have seen my son Eli. The women were running the 100 hurdles last night.
Isn't that something?
And he was just like, how are they doing that? He says, are they going through those or over them? And I'm like, they're going over. I said, watch when they showed it in slow motion. He's like, he was just amazed.
Well, I was too.
Look how they can go over those.
Did you see that finish line? I mean, they were down there. There was one girl that was about 3 steps behind. The rest of them were just a breath.
It was fun stuff. So
it was fun stuff.
Yeah, it was fun to see his reaction. The eyes of a 6-year-old, you forget what they're really doing, what they're accomplishing. It is pretty cool. So. I don't want to be critical, but the swimming trials did not have the excitement that they seem to have had in the past. And I don't know if that was because there was less preparation, there were no world records really broken, in the sense, you know what I mean? It just didn't seem to have maybe because there was so much other stuff going on. It didn't have that, this is the only thing on TV thing. So I feel bad about that. I feel guilty. I do. It was just something that the swimming trials went on, and if I could watch it, I had it on, and if I didn't, it was kind of like, okay, I'm not worried about it. So I hope when the Olympics come on in a month, I don't have the same attitude, because
I just want to give a small shout out to Randy Furman, who is an official at Eugene for this weekend.
Okay.
And he's a former Bronco and track coach down at Malacca and cross country, and he's been around for a long time. He has done several Olympic trial things like this. So he was in Eugene. I was looking down there, but all those officials look alike from the long distance. So
I'd like to have that job someday.
Yeah, well,
but
maybe.
you got to earn your points, right?
Whatever it is, he's been doing it for a long time.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I tell you, I want to talk just a little bit about Jim Mudcat Grant.
I'm glad you brought it up, because that was one thing I did forget. I knew there was somebody I was forgetting to write down, and that's who it was. So
No, it's just like you see where he come from, and I talk about this, and I've talked to you about this before. The migration from the Delta brought the blues to Chicago. Well, the migration of James Grant brought the blues ultimately to Minneapolis, because he not only was a great pitcher, 20 game winner, just a legendary twin, but he sings the blues. He had a band called Mudcat and the Kittens, and I went on YouTube today and looked up Mudcat Grant, and there he was doing a blues tune, and he was pretty good. And so I not only found, this, I watched the '65 World Series. I was old enough to watch that, and Mudcat and Jim Cott and these guys, they had a pretty good pitching staff. And none of them were Drysdale, but they had a pretty good pitching staff.
or Koufax, anyway.
Or Koufax, yeah, especially Koufax. In the sixth game, he struck out all kinds of people, finished the whole game, and hit a 3-run homer.
Not too shabby.
And so I thought, and you knew that, but, pitchers did that from time to time.
Sure.
And they were good athletes, and Bob Gibson down at St. Louis, and some of the rest of these guys, pitchers didn't mess with those. They didn't throw up any meatballs for those guys to clobber. They were big, strong boys and could swing a bat. So, he was a 1965 All-Star. He worked for 7 teams in 14 years.
Wow.
But I think the years that he spent in the Twins, and they wound up trading him over to the Dodgers and got Peronowski amongst some of those other guys that we were talking about earlier, and that's how he wound up with the Dodgers. They got Johnny Roseborough and some of the rest of these guys, the older Dodgers thing. So Roseborough came over here, and I remember him and Ron Peronowski. But certainly we missed Mudcat Grant. Also, how good of a singer was he? He sang at Harmon Killebrew's funeral. And so this is, and from what I understand, just basically loved by everybody for a poor boy from northern Florida.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
I think he was a real fine guy and deserving. Now, I hate to do this, but I got to talk about one other guy.
Yeah.
And that's
Tommy Curvers.
Tommy Curvers.
Bulldog.
Bulldog, a legendary bulldog. A Hobie Baker Award winner.
1984.
1984. And
I believe the first ever Hobie Baker Award given out. If memory serves me correctly, was the first one ever.
Was. Well, and they talked about he had 194 points in 124 games. That's
Not too
a
shabby.
lot of points, and
For a defenseman.
For a defenseman, and but he was one of those. He's a pretty active defenseman. He could get around. Otherwise, and he played several different positions when he was with the pros too. So,
Yeah, he won a Stanley Cup with Montreal in '86, and of course he was with the Wild here at the end, and they diagnosed him almost 3 years ago with inoperable lung cancer, and he hung on, and it's a tough day for Bulldog fans and Bloomington kids.
I mostly feel bad for Mike Surich and that crew down there. A UMD hockey player is a pretty tight bunch, and they're hurting for this guy. 58, wife, 4 kids, way too young. So
For sure.
you got to say goodbye to all the doggies. We'll see you in heaven or something at the rink.
There we go.
Yes. Other than that, I've worked through most of what I have.
Kelby Anderson takes 28th at the state golf meet. Shoots a 91 and an 88 for a freshman. Very, very good. She was ticked. I don't know if you heard about this, but on the end of the first day, she triple bogeyed the last hole to shoot 91.
Oh.
not happy.
No.
You like that out of a kid, you know? Okay, I shot a 91, which is, I think if you'd have told her before she went out for the round, Kelby, you're going to shoot a 91, I think she would have said, I'll take it.
And she's a freshman?
She's a freshman.
Gee, where do these kids...
So, okay, let's say she only bogeys it. She shoots an 89. She'd have been ecstatic, jumping cartwheels and whatever else. The next day she comes out, she shoots even better. She shoots the 88 on day 2, and she doubled the last hole. So both times, but Coach Casaretto talked about her, the fact, you know how many bunkers she hit into over the course of 36 holes? 0 bunkers.
Stayed out of the bunkers.
Stayed out of the bunkers. She did hit it in the water twice.
Yeah.
Got into the ditch both times. 8 and 9 both have a ditch that runs alongside of it, and that thing's like a magnet. Anyway, Coach Casaretto said this: the sky's the limit. How hard does she want to work? How good does she want to be? And I think it's out there for her. So congratulations, Kelby. Cody Jansen took 15th in the shot put.
That's not the matter with
and,
that.
And threw 46, 4.5. Not as PR like he wanted.
Yeah.
He knew going in that the kids that were above him, you know, if he could have gotten to 50, I think he'd have gotten them to like 7th, 8th place, 9th, or 6th, 7th, 8th place. But not too bad of a showing. A great ending to a senior career for Broncos. So congratulations to Cody. Of course, Legion and baseball and summer softball are going on around the area. So get out there and see the kids. And I know the Bronco Senior Legion teams and Junior Legion teams are at home on Tuesday night. So hopefully we'll get those games in, and everything will keep going along the way it's supposed to. And Smoky Bear this weekend ought to be a good time.
That will be a good time. You'll get a suntan.
Maybe you'll get to see the Buzz.
Like to see Buzzy.
The Buzzsaw. We'll see what he's got going on. If he brings all his kids and everybody else up for a good time this weekend. So hopefully we'll get a chance to do that. Anything else?
I can't think of anything. What do you got?
I just heard about this new radio show that's going to be on. I'm pretty excited. I think we'll make everybody stay tuned to next week's show. I think we'll give you some more details about that next week. What George has got scheming. You didn't think he had time for anything else, folks. Well, he found some time. We'll fill you in next week, and we'll see how things go. Anything else?
See you next week.
Thanks, everybody.